Hi everyone, it's me again. It's day 3. I want to say a big thank you to everyone for all the kind words about my amazing video making skills. Today we're going to machine quilt. This is really easy to do. Just try it. Everyone always makes it like it's some national secret. So we've got our exterior fabric. We got our foam or stabilizer, whatever you're using. I'm using a headliner. You might be using soft and stable or a fusible fleece or the Aldi floor sheets. So for this, if you're using a fusible fleece, fuse it to your fabric first, because after you do the markings, you'll end up ironing them away. So I take my exterior fabric first, and I just make a crease down the center, so I have a center line. This does not have to be exact, because we're going to be trimming it later. And then I take a fabric adhesive, 505, anything. I just put a little bit. We don't have to glue it to it. We just want it so it sticks nicely to it and doesn't move around when we're quilting. There we go. Now, you're going to take your ruler and a marking tool. Once again, I'm using the Frixion so you can see it. I would recommend chalk, or make sure your Frixion, the pen disappears. I first draw a line down the center where I made my crease line. Can we even see this? Okay, don't tell me you're gonna die. Okay, obviously it's not showing up so great. Let me grab the black one. Yeah, nothing like being prepared, see? All of a sudden, I think I'm a star. I don't even prepare for my audience. Okay, here we go. Center line. Now, on your ruler, whether it be a long one or a short one, it doesn't matter. They all should have I gotta look with my glasses. One of the lines will say 45 degrees. That's what we want to use because we're going to do 45-degree angles. You can use 60 or the 30s, like this one has 60 and 30, and then you get a different shape of diamonds or quilting design, and that's real cool too. Or if you say you don't like this this look, you can just quilt squiggly lines all over. Freeform, stiplet. This does not have to be quilted really tightly. It's a lining. This is more to, well, it looks nice and it gives the basket stability or any bag you're making. So I've got my center line. Now I'm going to take my 45-inch line and I'm going to lay it right on it. And I'm going to draw a line. You know, you can draw it anywhere you like. I usually start up here, but this one works for me too. Well, it helps if I'm a straight or semi. So I draw one line. I need to draw a second one. I draw them 1.5 inches apart. I figure that's good enough spacing for the lining of a basket. So I draw 2 lines, and the reason is so I have one to quilt to set up the arm on my quilting foot. But first, let's draw the second line. Then I'll draw a second. I take the next 45, line it up with the center line. Doesn't matter where it is. And you see these all line up, and I draw a 45. If you're really OCD, you can calculate the middle, but we're not going there today. We just first want to get you to quilt something. And next 1.5 inches. So I always want lines going opposite. So this way I'm all ready and set up. If you have one of these lovely gadgets, a walking foot, and you probably do in your sewing box, and it comes with this funny little arm thing. It's a guide. They attach to your walking foot. There's a hole somewhere. This one, it doesn't fit in. Don't force it. This one it does. And then when we set this up on the machine, the reason I draw 2 lines is because I stitch one. I'll show you on the machine. When I sew this one, then when I go to sew this one, I place my foot right on the line, and then I can, you have to imagine this is attached to the machine, then I can pull the arm out so it lays right in the stitching line. And that way my arm is then set up for the 1.5 inches. It's just a quick, easy way. And then the same thing will happen. Here you probably wouldn't need it. I just do it, oops, because it's a reflex. No, I didn't break my foot. These are interchangeable foots on this walking foot. Okay, so basically I'm ready to go to the machine, attach this to my machine, and sew. But here, there is it. Okay, this is if you have a walking foot. If you do not have a walking foot, you have to mark all the lines because you have no guide to tell you the difference, the distance. So then you start, place it on the next line. No, the red doesn't work. And draw your line. Move over, scoot over on the straight, one more line. And keep doing this until the whole piece is filled both directions with all the lines. That is the downside of not having a walking foot, plus a few other things. Transports it nice and evenly, but I know they're expensive, and if you're going to just do this one piece, you don't want to invest in a foot. But you would have to then draw them all. So we're going to pretend they're all drawn, because I don't need it. And then we're going to go over the machine and quilt. I'm back. Boy, if you saw how this is set up, not sure if this is going to work, but I'm going to give it my best. Okay, we have our basted top, so to say. For those that don't have basting spray, you can use pins to pin and hold your fabric down. The only problem I find with that is they're in the way all the time, and I get poked a lot. Okay, first off, we're going to start for those that do not have a quilting foot. As you can see here, I have got my normal everyday foot, what I call the 3/8 inch foot. What I find is important is increase your stitch length to, like, I increase it to 4.5, even to 5. This is just basically binding, basting 2 fabrics together. So it does not have to be really tiny stitches. Besides, the foam won't like it that small. So I would say don't go under 4, between 4.5 and 5. 4.5 is good. 5 is, I have no time and I got to give gas here to sew quicker. So all I'm doing is I'm got my threads in. I haven't changed anything else in this case on my machine. Every machine is going to be a little different. If you have problems, you may have to release your pressure on your machine if you can. And that means you got to get your manual out. Or if you have some crazy problems, post a picture and I'll see, or maybe someone else has. You got to tell us what machine you have, and maybe someone has your machine and can help. But this is for, we're doing the first one for the walking foot people. So I just, like I said, I increased it to 4.5, and I just sew and follow on the line. That's it. That's the whole, that's quilting. And then I will do the next one. And I will continue to sew straight on the line. This goes very quickly, and I find it quite therapeutic. And see, we have our first 2 quilted rows. And then, of course, when you quilt all in one area, direction, that's what we had to mark it. If you didn't have a quilting foot, then I come and go in the other direction. Now, for those that have a quilting foot, you have to install it. This is on some machines a bit of a pain, and others it's easier. My Janome has this big, huge thing. It also has a small one, but I'm going to use the big one. And this arm thing. They're most like these big, huge walker contraptions. You can tell it was invented by a guy. It's like a Star Wars thing. See, most likely you got to remove your little screw. Mine always falls off. Attach it. Read your manual how to install it, because some of them have tricks, like this one does. Make sure you tighten. Okay, I'm going to remove my arm so I can get to the screw. Make sure you tighten the screw. Also, if you are quilting a lot, whether it's freeform or this kind, straight quilting, do I have you in right? I recommend checking your screw every so often, because it will loosen. The machine is vibrating like crazy doing this. Actually, it's good to check the screw no matter what you're sewing. Okay, my foot's in. Put my little arm thingy in. Now, this is where I had said I quilted my first line. And, can you even see it? You can't. Then I put my foot down, my little arm thing down in the groove of the first line I stitched. And that way my distance is set and I don't have to mark the whole thing or watch. On my machine, I have to press a button to activate my walking foot. Your machine may be the same, it may not. So that's it. Once again, see, it automatically here, my machine automatically changes stitch length to 4.5. And then I just put the metal, pedal to the metal and start sewing. Oh, I wish you could see that the groove is, I might have to, oops. If you go wonky, do not worry about it. Let's see if I can lower this. Okay, let's try this again. Now I think you can see my my little arm. So you see, I had quilted, pretend I had quilted this line first that I drew. Now I can quilt the second line I drew, and I can adjust my walking foot, my arm guide to go in this groove. And then I just quilt along. And then as you see, I have to come over here. You have to like eyeball it. And then I quilt right along. Watch the arm, not the foot. If you get a little crooked, wavy, it happens to me. No one's going to see it, trust me. The quilting police is not on duty today. I've given them a ball of wine and sent them on their way. When you have a lot of quilting to do, I actually find, I love to turn on Ace of Base and then just boogie to the music, but that's more for my freeform quilting. Here I have to be a little stiffer. So we quilt everything, oops, totally out of the distance. Told you not to worry about being crooked? Well, I just was. And we continue this in both directions. I'm not sure you want to watch me keep quilting this, but it's like watching grass grow. But once I've gone in all in one direction, I will turn my piece and do the same going in the other direction. And as you see, it's no big deal. That's my thread cutter. I love foot pedal thread cutters. Best invention. And voila, next line. And see, you will continue till the whole piece is quilted. Now I'm going to shut you off and we're going to see about trimming. I'm going to quilt this because you don't need to watch me sew straight lines for 10 minutes. It'll probably take you between 10 and 15 and 20 minutes depending on how big your piece is. But it goes, relax. We're in no hurry. This is day 3. We're more than halfway there. We're after you've quilted this, I will switch the camera back to the cutting board. Oh, God help me. And then we'll trim it down and cut it. And then we'll sew it again. Oh, gotta go back and forth. Oh, well. Well, I'll be back. Go quilt. Holler if you run into trouble while I get all this set up again. Okay, here we go. Now we've got the whole thing quilted. It'll look like this. I gave it a little press with the iron to remove all the marks and to make it look nice and smooth. See, doesn't that just look lovely? And it was easy peasy. Well, hopefully it was and no one was screaming. Now, we're going to have to, you're going to take one of your little charts, and since I'm doing the small, it says that I need to cut it down to 14¼ by 14¼ in this case. Use the measurement yours says. Now, you see here, I happen to have a big 15 by 15 ruler, which I use all the time, which I highly recommend for bag making along with the long one. Now I'm going to place it on here, and this is 15 by 15, and you see my fabric did shrink a bit, but that's okay because I'm going to trim it down if I find the rotary cutter. Now, I'm going to, because I want it to be semi-square, so I'm going to look and play with my ruler to make sure I'm in all my boundaries, and then I'm just going to lob that off and turn it and get myself the next corner. Make sure I'm not over the 14¼ guideline. Trim all this off. Oops. I think it's time for a new blade soon. And now I'm going to line up here 14¼ trim that off. Turn here 14¼ It's really important in not only bag making but all sewing to be accurate with your cutting and your measuring. Most problems I find are people miscut. It happens to me too. The worst is when things shrink. Oh. Okay, now we've got this. We're down to the right size. And here we go again. You know this system already. We're going to draw our lines to cut out the corner. So, since I have no direction here, and it does not matter which way I go, I am going to just, for the small, what does it tell me? 4¾ So I'm going to draw a line here. 4¾ Oh! Did you hear that? That sounds awful. 4¾ reminds me of that sound when someone scratches their nails on the chalkboard. I find that also disgusting. Okay, makes my teeth itch. Okay, 2, and this line we want now is 2½. I think I need new glasses. Okay, 2½. And on the other side, 2½. Some people will calculate and fold it in half and cut that out. I just find this is easier to show all of you, especially beginners, how to cut out. I'll do it with scissors because you will panic seeing me cut out my corners with the rotary cutter. So I cut this out once again. This is just like we did on the exterior. And we have our box corners. Or not our box corners. What am I talking about? Do you think I'm tired? God, I think all this talking to myself is starting to make me even dizzier than normal. Okay, so let's try it again. We cut out the corners to make box corners. Ta-da! That's it. Now you are going to take this to the machine. Since it would require me to move the whole camera again, I'm going to save us both that headache. Let me find my clips. I could have had them right by my machine, by the cutting table. That would have made too much sense. No, they're over here. Okay, they're on the floor now. Now you're going to fold your piece just like you did your exterior. Fold your piece in half. Clip the sides together or pin them. And you're going to sew. And the same here. Again, you're going to make a mark or a clip, and you're going to do your corners. Before you do that, if you used foam or anything thick, you can either zigzag the edges down or trim away the excess just to help reduce the bulk. And don't forget to press your seams open flat. So once you've sewn this and you've sewn this, you're going to box the corners again on both sides, and then that's it. It's me again, and we're at day 4. I can't believe I've made it this far. Okay, I hope you've made it this far, and you survived the quilting yesterday. Well, I'm making this video in advance, so I will know later today or tomorrow how everyone survived that part. But I'm going to be optimistic and say everyone loved it, and you all have your quilted lining. We're coming down to the end. We're going to put this all together. So you have your exterior with its lovely pockets. You have your beautiful quilted lining. And now we're going to insert the lining into the exterior. Of course, wrong sides together. And it's really important to make sure you use your fingers and press the corner. Oh, I was going to say, sorry, forgot, see. Trim your lining seam allowance down to about 1/4 of an inch so it's not so fat and bulky there. Okay, now back to pushing it into your exterior piece. You don't have to trim the seam allowance on the exterior because that one's most likely not as fat as the lining one. Now you're going to push it down nicely. I use my fingers to like sneak it and make it sit proper so we have a beautifully fitted in lining piece. You may find your lining is up a little bit, is higher than your exterior. If that happens, just tug on the exterior fabric and pull it up. If it's a lot, trim it off. That can happen because we are dealing with different fabrics and thicknesses, but I try to get them to sit to fit as best as possible, considering all the variables. But you're going to see some spots it's going to be perfect, and some it might be a tick higher. It's hard to be 100% accurate because I'm using decorator, you might be using fabric, and they'll all react different. So you see here, I'll match up my side seams with my side seams that have been pressed nice and flat. And I'm going to clip now the top edge of the basket. Oops. Oh, it dawned on me yesterday as I was joining the videos of sewing the quilting the lining. I hope if the sound of the machine bothered you, and might do the same here when I start sewing, just turn the volume down for that part. I don't know how to adjust that or mute it yet. I was thrilled yesterday to combine a couple of videos together. So as you see, I'm pulling up and if your lining should fit nice and snugly in there, you might have to tug it a bit and corks it in to sit pretty. Now clip all the way around, joining the two together. If you had center notches and clips, join them up. If you didn't, well, we're going to fake it out now. Now, it's all together. It's hard to show it here. And now I'm going to sew once again with my 3/8 seam allowance. Since my machine is a flatbed, basically, I don't have a free arm to sew it like this. I always sew this way. But actually, it's best if you have a flat bed to turn it around. But depending on your fabric, you may not be able to do that, to turn, have the lining facing outwards. I found a trick is whichever side is larger, have that down towards the bed of the bed of your machine. So if your lining is a little baggier, that should be facing down. So now I'm going to sew 3/8 of an inch. Or actually I can just baste it on, so up the stitch length. As you can see here, I'm sewing these all these layers together with a normal sewing foot. I know, isn't this the fun part of watching videos? You get to watch me sew in a circle, badly in a circle. I have to admit, most times when I'm attaching exterior and linings, the first time I go around, it is crooked and wavy as all to heck. It's basically to get it all to hold nicely together. And then I will sew around a second time neater. So if that happens to you, you're not alone. Now you have a couple of choices here. If you used a foam, let me see if you can see this, a foam or anything thick for your batting, you can trim this away to reduce the bulk, or you can zigzag it flat. So let's pretend I did both of those just for time, because I know I can zip through it. Then you're going to take your top binding piece, and if you haven't ironed it wrong sides together, do so now. So the nice side is facing out, and it's only 1.5 inches. Once you have wide, and once you have this piece, you're going to join the two short ends together. And this time you're going to sew with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. 1/2 inch. We need it a little bigger because I find it's nicer to get so that you get a tighter fit. Sometimes, once again, due to your fabrics, you may have to adjust this a little bit in or out. But I found this worked on practically all the samples I tried. So now press this. We're finger pressing to pretend. Here you can finger press. It's only a little seam. Turn it back so we have our circle. And now we are going to pin it to the inside of our basket, lining to lining. You're going to, to make it easier, it's best, this is for the beginners, find your seam line, fold the piece in half, make a little pen or clip mark, so that's the other side seam. Fold those two together and make a little pen mark, and that will be your center marks on your basket if you had major center marks. I find this is a very good practice in all bed making to help get things to fit properly, because fabric stretch. So now I'm going to match up the one seam, raw edges all on top, folded edges down. If you happen to be one of those crazy people that has the top binding with a print, you have to make sure that when you pin it, test it, fold it over, that all of a sudden your ducks or whatever are not upside down. See what I mean? In my case, it's not going to matter, but on the one, it did for me. I had to go, wrong direction. Now, let's see here. We're going to clip. I feel like I'm rushing through all this because I don't want to make this so long. Because I know some of you may be leisurely laying in a nice warm bed. Gail, enjoying her coffee. But others are ready to go and listening to my chatter first thing in the morning can be a little hard to take. Okay, maybe it's afternoon for you. Where's more clips? Now I've clipped this all. Everything sits nice. If it was, sometimes you have to tug on it a little bit to make sure it's all even. And now, once again, I have to turn mine inside out so that I can sew, because I have no flatbed. And I find then my top binding sits nicer. But this is something I'm sure most of you know with your machine, because you sew on your machines which way it has to work best. So once again, now I'm back to my 3/8 seam allowance, and or the width of my foot, if you learned yesterday's lesson. And I'm going to stitch this nice and neatly. No crazy. Take your time here. I'm going to try to do the same so I can end up with a decent looking binding. I know a lot of people don't like bindings, but if you do them a few times, I don't find them such a big deal. It's just a few tricks. Also, double stick tape or fabric check helps when in doubt to hold things in place. Things just over. I hope someone somewhere is having lovely weather. We are having another rainy, drizzly, gray day here in Germany. So I guess being in lockdown isn't so bad. There's nowhere to go anyways right now. Okay, let's see. Ta-da. Now we are in. Now you're going to take the, now comes the part. If you have trouble folding bindings over and clipping them and pinning them and sewing so you have a nice straight edge, I recommend using double stick tape. Nowadays, it's not so expensive anymore. And I've got here 1/4 inch. I'm just going to do a little bit so it goes faster. Put it up against the top edge so it will be out of your sewing area. Go all the way around. Pretend I've done this all the way around. And then remove the paper, of course. That's the worst part always. See? I knew it. I swear. It only sticks to the paper. Okay, come on. Okay, yeah. Okay, there, we got it. Now I'm going to fold this over, and the double stick tape will hold it. Make sure it's over your stitching line. Can you even see this? Yeah, I gotta work on the camera. And it holds it down nice. And so now when I stitch, it won't move on me. And I don't have to deal with clips and or pins in my way. But please do whatever most comfortable for you. I find when it's really important that it's nice on the top of a basket, I'll dig out the double stick tape and use it. If it's for the inside of a bag where or a little pencil case where no one's going to see it, then, well, I might fake it out, depending on my OCD mood of that day. Okay, now, so I'm going to clip this all just because of, to make this quicker. So I'm pinning all my bias tape over. And now you're going to have to switch, or I recommend, you don't have to do anything. I recommend switching your foot to a zipper foot, because it makes life much easier. Still clipping. Good thing I've got the little one. And one last one. Oh, yeah, because, see, and that's with the tape. There we go. We're pinned in clips. Almost there. You're getting all excited. Now, switch out to your zipper foot. It'd be good if I had it here. Oh, I do have it. I put on my zipper foot. I am a sewer. I know some people hate switching feet out, Susan, but I love switching feet. I also love buying feet. I find they make my life and my job much easier. So I'm a bit of a notions junkie. So your zipper, so I figure I've got the foot. We're going to use it. I think maybe I have to switch the camera again, huh? Yeah, hang on a minute. Okay, let's see if this view works better so you can see what I'm doing. I hope if I hit the camera, I'm sorry if it wiggles, but if you saw, I don't have much room to place my hands here. I've literally got it right in front of my nose. So I've pinned or taped or clipped my binding, and now I'm going to use my zipper foot, because then I can, once again, remember how I like to use the edges of my feet? I'm going to line this edge up, and I'm going to move my needle position over, not all the way to the edge of there. I'm going to back it up a couple, so it's just a few millimeters in from the edge of the top binding. Okay, oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out how to reach my wheel. I'm old school. I know you don't have to do it nowadays, but I like to pull up my bobbin thread if I can reach my wheel. The camera's not in the way. Where are you, bobbin thread? Oh yeah, let's make this more difficult. Oh, there she is. Okay, and once again, I wouldn't have been doing this in black, because you're going to see every wiggle. Oh my God, I can't get, there we got it. I like to hold it so I don't get the bird's nest underneath. I know the new machines, we don't have to do it, but I do it anyways. Okay, so now I will start sewing away from wherever, is inconspicuous, not right in the middle of the front, so you don't have your back stitch and stuff. Now, using the edge of the binding here as your guide, just stitch around. We're going to sew all the way around till the pouch, till the binding is attached. Okay, the binding's on. Basically, your little basket is done. Isn't it adorable? Okay, once you get rid of all the little threads and snippets, don't look too close. This is the worst sewing I've ever done. But I've never had to sew with a camera and tripod in front of my face, between my knees, over my head. But at least you'll get the idea. Now, I find this is cute, but I like my basket to have a little more shape. So what I'm going to have you do, remember those stitch lines I had, the corner lines I had you do? You're going to now pinch at that spot. And you can take a clip and clip it there. And we're going to sew. You're going to stitch only on the bias tape, on the binding, in this section, let's see if I can draw your little line, about 3/8 of an inch away. You don't want to get really close because it's going to be kind of chunky there. So you want to make sure it's away from your from all the fatness, and your needle can get in easier. If need be, give it a little whack with a hammer to flatten it down. Sometimes that works on really fat sections. But I'm going to sew there. Also, a tip I found my machine, or I sewed better coming from this direction to the outer edge than going from the outer edge in. So I'm going to sew that. I still have, remove my clip because it's in my way. Trim your threads. You can bury them to make it look much neater, but due to video time. Okay, and see, you've created, again, with matching thread, it's not as noticeable. You're going to repeat this on all 4 corners. And there you go. All 4 corners are pinched. I'm sure there's a fancier sewing term for it, but that's what I'm calling it. Now, isn't that adorable? I find it gives it a great extra little shape to hold its form. I think it's cute. Like I said, it's optional. If you're going to carry rocks or heavy stuff in your little baskets, I would recommend taking a piece of cardboard or photo mat or foam core, and you can cover it, make a sleeve for it, and lay it on the inside of your basket so that if you overload it, it doesn't get a, baggy bottom. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed this little sew along and tutorial. I learned a lot. I hope you learned a few new tips and tricks, and I'm glad you could join me and I could share another one of my ideas with you. I'm wishing you all a great week, and just keep sewing. It's the only thing that's going to keep us sane in these days. And thanks for all your support in my Etsy shop and my Facebook group and just in general. And until the next time I am crazy enough to turn on the camera, tschüss.